Hello, and welcome to the 9th module of the unit devoted to the instrumental approach in the project ICMAI Awardees Multimedia Online Resources. As announced in this module, I will continue the reflection undertaken in Module 8, trying to draw some lessons from the world story. I will do this by reviewing the component of research praxeologies and their relationships. Considering the praxis block of research praxeologies, the questions studied and the associated study techniques first focused on the understanding of instrumental genesis and their role in learning processes with CAS, considering particular mathematical themes or topics. Research studied also the institutional conditions and constraints that shape this genesis, and also design and test teaching progression for addressing their specific needs. Very quickly, research studies expanded to other artifacts, spreadsheets, dynamic geometry software, tutorials, interactive whiteboards. Simultaneously, the questioning expanded from the students to the teacher, their personal and professional genesis, and how they orchestrate the use of the diversity of artifacts, digital or not, present in the classrooms. The questioning also extended to teachers' preparation and professional development activities, and how instrumental issues are addressed in such activities. The study techniques used in this research are diverse: questionnaires, interviews, didactic engineering, classroom observations. As we have seen in the previous modules, several techniques are generally used to answer a given question. In addition, technological advances, for instance the development of screen capture tools or action cameras, have made possible much more precise analysis of instrumental action. If we consider the theoretical block of research praxeologies, as was pointed in Module 8, the constructions are diverse. They all share the reference to Rabardels and Verillon's ergonomic perspectives, in particular the distinction between artifact and instrument, the notion of instrumental genesis with its two dimensions, instrumentalization and instrumentation, and the conceptualization of instrumental genesis in terms of the elaboration and appropriation of schemes. However, researchers incorporate this perspective into their theoretical educational background. I show those already evoked in previous module in this slide. These incorporations lead to theoretical blocks significantly different. Rapidly, this was a source of questioning. The discussion about the relationship between schemes and techniques, to which many researchers contributed at the turn of this century, is a good example. The theoretical construction I have introduced in modules 2 and 3 incorporates Rabardel instrumental perspective into ATD. In such a process, ATD categories and discourse intervene with those proposed by cognitive ergonomics. Instrumental genesis are sought in terms of the development of personal and institutional praxeologies. They are approached in terms of instrumented techniques and associated technological discourses, not only in terms of schemes. This inevitably raises the following question: what relationships between schemes and techniques? This question was extensively discussed in the first decade of the instrumental approach, as attested by publication of Jean-Baptiste Lagrange, Luc Trouche, Paul Drivers, Mariam Aspekian, and John Monaghan, ranging from 1999 to 2007. The collective work on this issue helped clarify the different points of view, discards simplistic views, such as the reduction of technique to gestures or to the observable part of schemes. It made clear that schemes and techniques correspond to two different and complementary ways of approaching instrumental genesis, both powerful but irreducible the one to the other. The scheme technique discussion is only one of the phenomena resulting from this theoretical diversity. I will come back to this point at the end of this module. For the moment, I would like to come to the following question. What has this research produced? First of all, research has confirmed the complexity of instrumental genesis, the dialectical relationship at stake between the two processes of instrumentalization and instrumentation, and the need to carefully guide this genesis. It has shown that no type of digital artifact escapes this complexity, even those designed from the outset for educational purposes. Research also confirms that these needs were institutionally highly underestimated and proposed convincing explanations for such a phenomenon. The pedagogical function given to digital technologies in educational systems, the vision of mathematics as a corpus of universal knowledge, freed from the technological means of its production, and the resulting problems of educational legitimacy for the teaching of instrumental and mathematical knowledge and the specific mathematics involved in it. Beyond these general regularities, research has identified the precise characteristics of instrumental genesis for a variety of artifacts, for a diversity of mathematical themes, from elementary school up to university. The results concern students' instrumental genesis, but also those of teachers, with a new duality at work in this case: mathematical didactical, personal professional, private public use. New regularities have thus been identified, not only in terms of instrumental genesis of given artifacts, but more broadly in terms of genesis of uses involving a set of digital or non-digital artifacts. The production of all these results has also given rise to many didactic engineering design, because to study these processes of instrumental genesis and how they could be institutionally guided, to analyze their cognitive effects, it was necessary to create mathematical and didactical praxeology not directly observable. An important outcome is also, and this is normal, the progressive enrichment of the theoretical block of the instrumental approach research praxeologies. From the very beginning, phenomena such as those of double transparency or double transposition, schemes of use and instrumented action have been identified and named. Categorization have been produced, for instance, to describe the system of constraints that condition instrumental genesis, as the one proposed by Luc Trouche and then refined by Bat de Fouad for symbolic calculators. Then, new distinction appeared. such as the distinction between the pragmatic and epistemic valence of techniques, or distinction resulting from the extension of the study to the teacher. New concepts emerge, such as those of instrumental orchestration, instrumental distance, genesis of use. Some of these objects have remained elements of the research praxeologies of individual researchers or small communities. Some have been forgotten. Only those who have read Bad de Fouat's thesis carefully, for instance, know that he introduced a distinction between institutional and personal praxeology, a distinction that was not part of ATD at the time. In fact, the idea of personal praxeology will be introduced later and independently. First, by Marie-Caroline Crozet in her doctoral thesis in terms of praxeology in act. It was in 2009. And then by Amit Shah Shua as part of his praxeological and computational model of students' knowledge later. Other elements of technological discourse, on the contrary, because they have been quickly taken up by other researchers, have integrated the theoretical core of the instrumental approach. Their incorporation has raised a new research question, the development of new research praxeology, and so they have contributed to the praxeological dynamics of the instrumental approach. The notion of instrumental orchestration presented in Module 7 is a very good example of that. The praxeological dynamics of the instrumental approach has also benefited from the diversity of theoretical combination it has generated. And I would like to come back to this point. A number of combinations have been mentioned in the previous modules, but this is only a small part of the existing connections. I will briefly evoke a few more examples. In an article published in 2004, for instance, John Monaghan mentioned the possible complementarity between the descriptors of Sachs' model in terms of emergent goals he has used to analyze the practice of teachers wishing to incorporate technology into their lessons, and the descriptors of the instrumental approach praxeological analysis. Two theses supervised by Jean-Baptiste Lagrange, those of Nuray Kaliskan Deoglu and Emel Özdemir Erdogan, defended in 2006, will effectively combine Sachs' model with the instrumental approach to analyze teachers' instrumental genesis and practices. In the International Journal of Computer for Mathematical Learning in 2004, Celia Halls, Richard Noss, and Philip Kent published an article echoing discussion held in Reims in June 2003 as part of the third Computer Algebra in Mathematics Education Symposium. They present an attempt at connecting the instrumental approach and situated abstraction. Their project is to show, I quote them, that the notion of situated abstraction as a category of mathematical expression may adequately complement the idea of instrumental genesis, while effectively describing the kinds of mathematical knowledge that arise in collective as well as individual instrumented activity. An instrumental perspective is also present in the pedagogical technology model PTK, elaborated by Mike Thomas as a key indicator of teacher progress in implementation of technology use, as explained in a chapter written by him and Palmer in 2014. Personally, I became particularly sensitive to the diversity of theoretical combination generated by the dissemination of the instrumental approach through my involvement in Rimat's project, mentioned in Module 8. The aim of this project was to build a shared discourse on the semiotic potential offered for mathematics learning by dynamic digital artifacts, DDA in short. 6 teams from 4 countries, France, Greece, Italy, UK, were involved. The research was based on the creation or refinement of 6 particularly innovative DDAs and their cross-experimentation by 2 teams. The team designing the DDA and a team from another country with different theoretical background. I cannot go into details, but I would like to quote part of the conclusion of the article, co-written with Maria Alessandra Mariotti, for the special issue of Educational Studies in Mathematics devoted to this project. This is the following. REMAT thus helps us understand up to what extent the common reference to the same theoretical approach, here Rabardell's ergonomic approach of instrumental issues, could take different forms according to the theoretical culture it had to be integrated into, and to measure the consequences this could have on the choice made by the DDA designers, on the identification of didactic potentialities of a given technology, and on the design of scenarios of use, and on the analysis and evaluation of their learning potential. Regarding, for instance, the combination with constructionism, a combination not evoked so far, REMAT made clear that, in terms of DDA design, constructionism leads to give particular importance to the potential offered by DDAs in terms of instrumentalization, which was theorized by our Greek colleagues in terms of halfback microwords. In terms of DDA use, we could also measure the distance between scenarios elaborated for the use of the same constructionist DDA, Quizlet in that case, by the French and Greek teams relying respectively on the theory of didactical situations and constructionism, despite the fact that both theories share some socio-constructivist background. I will stop here. Much more could have been said, as the instrumental approach is a dynamic entity, still in evolution. Also, I could have evoked its extension in terms of documentational approach initiated by Ghislaine Godet and Luc Trouche at the 2007 Summer School of the French Didactic Community, which today gathers many researchers around the world. What I expect to have shown, however, through this series of modules is that even when awards go to one single researcher, in mathematics education, as in other fields, what is acknowledged and valued is the work of a community, the empirical and theoretical advances that this community has made possible. Thank you.